This is Adam Watson.
I'm Levon Baker.
You're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. So, no Robert tonight. I messaged him and said that he could come tag along if he wanted to, but he never got back to me, so bastard.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so he doesn't get to be on tonight. So, did you see the page from Bovine Muerte that I posted this week?
I believe so. Was that the one that I
You were here when I was lettering it, I believe.
Yeah, I did see that one.
It's the first page that has Muerte and the mutants appearing in a post-apocalyptic type world.
Right.
Yeah. So what did you think about that page?
The coloring looks amazing. I'll definitely say that. Like, as soon as you pulled it up on your computer, when you were lettering it, the colors were just, like, the first thing that drew me in.
Popped.
Yeah, they absolutely popped.
Yeah, this is getting close to the end of issue number 4 now. I think with this page posted, there's only 2 more plus the cover, I think.
Holy crap.
So yeah, but I just got the fully completed first page from Bovine Muerte issue number 5.
Nice.
So it's all ready to just roll out and go as soon as I get it.
Dude, that's awesome. So everything's right on schedule?
Yep, everything's right on schedule. Now I just have to sit down and write out Bovine Muerte issue number 6. I have an outline, and I think I have at least like a quarter of it fully written out.
Nice.
But I need to sit down and work out all the remaining details, all that kind of stuff.
Push it out before he sends you the rest of the other pages.
Yeah. I probably have, though, I would say, about 4 weeks before the full issue number 5 is fully completed.
Awesome.
So it should be enough time. Should be, hopefully, that I can sit down and get the rest of issue number 6 done. And in the meantime, I'll be writing up the script for the Bovine Muerte Inspiratu short story that's going to introduce Inspiratu to the Darkslinger world.
I'm definitely pumped for that. I'm ready to start actually making comics.
Yeah.
Not just drawing the same pinup pictures.
Yeah. Get to work on some panels, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, pinups, you need a master before. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if everybody always masters pinups before they do sequentials.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works for most artists, honestly. I know some of the best pinup artists in the world never master sequentials, and some of the best sequential artists in the world never master pinups. So
it's too funny.
It is, but it does seem to be the way it works.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. Like last week we were talking a lot about Image Comics, right?
Right.
And if you look at the early Image stuff, all of those guys were phenomenal pinup artists.
Yeah.
Not so much sequential artists, you know? Their sequentials did leave a lot to be desired. For most of those guys, anyway. There were a few exceptions. But, you know, their pinups were amazing, so it was not that surprising when you pick up an early Image book and, like, 8 of the pages would be splash pages.
It's like, it's the only thing we know to do.
Right?
Just make one really big one.
Yeah, they do, like, splash pages, and I think there was a large instance of, like, double-page spread splash pages, too.
Really?
Yeah, like full-size double-page spread splashes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was all pretty common back in that time.
But
I will say as a writer, sometimes when you're a little bit stuck and you're like, you know what, I don't have enough to describe this whole page, and I can't really go to the next sequence in the storyline without doing this page. Is there any way I can make it into a splash page? Like, will it have some resonance as a splash page, you know?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Splash pages are kind of a weird thing to use because you know it's going to have a lot more impact if it's just one big image.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want to do it just because you're stuck, you know? But I will admit, I have done that in the past. Bovine Muerte issue number 1 has like 2 more splash pages than necessary just for that reason. Or actually, no, I think it's just 1 more splash page than necessary. But I did use like 3 splash pages in the first issue.
So I'd say it's safe to assume that that's probably what happened with the Image guys.
Yeah.
Got stuck writing, they're like, what do we do? How about another splash?
Right. Yeah, they did a lot of them. A whole lot. And then the back of their books would all have pinups.
Right.
So that's what happens when it's like style over substance, which the comic industry pretty much shies away from at this point. So
yeah.
Well, you know, there's still a lot of people who enjoy it, so
that's true.
It still has its place.
Yeah, to each their own. So.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, one person might enjoy it more than the others, but
yeah,
you know, that's why there's a million different things out there for everyone.
Right.
So.
There definitely are right now.
Yeah.
I have not read anything for like 3 weeks now, I don't think, which is really weird and unusual for me. You've been reading anything lately?
I think I'm right in the same spot as you.
Oh, yeah?
I think the last time I read was when we had done that one podcast about all the things that we were reading.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe, about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I need to sit down and do some reading. I just haven't had any time, which is strange because normally I make sure that I make time in my life, but...
Well, yeah, and that's one thing that after you started giving me books, I've been trying to do that as well. Like, force myself to read a little bit, at least, a little bit a night. In the last 3 weeks, it's been just... Everything's been weird and hectic and running around back and forth trying to do things, so, like... Reading's kind of been pushed off because I wanted to spend time trying to draw. Mm-hmm. And then didn't even really get to do a whole lot of drawing the last couple weeks.
Yeah. But, yeah, I did finish up some scripts over the last couple weeks. So I did do that.
Nice.
But, yeah. Some of them had been finalized, but they were in longhand form because I always do all my writing longhand before I type it up.
Right.
My first draft is always something that's written in like a journal. So they had been done longhand, but I just hadn't had the time to type them up, and I finally found the time over this last week to just get them, done and sent off to the artist because I don't want to keep my artist waiting forever,
Right. Totally understandable. So what exactly is issue number 4 of Bovine Muerte setting up for number 5?
You mean in terms of, like, the post-apocalyptic setting that I got going on in the page that was posted this week?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are going to be some spoilers here, but... all of issue number 5 is going to be taking place in this post-apocalyptic world.
Nice.
So basically, I wrote myself into a corner with issue number 4. I kind of actually did it with issue number 3, because I had no idea what the hell I was going to do with Muerte and the mutants. I just knew that I needed to move them outside of the facility. And the script had kind of flipped. Like in issue number 1, the general and his army attack Lay Mime's secret headquarters, right?
Right.
In issue number 3, Lay Mime comes back as Lay Mime version 2.0 with the metal arm. And fucks up the general, and then, busts in and takes over the facility, basically. And so, it was the thing where I needed to kind of figure out, okay, I knew basically what I was going to do at that point. Like, I wanted to bring back Mime Professional.
Right.
And have him be this Frankenstein RoboCop sort of version of Lay Mime, And I wanted him to be hunting down Lay Mime while Lay Mime's trying to make this deal with the suit, which would make Lay Mime care less about where Muerte went,
Right.
Although he still cares because that's his baby cow, But I had Muerte and the mutants escape in a semi-truck in the back of the semi-truck in issue number 3.
Right.
And I knew that semi-truck had the cheese singles in it that went out to all the dairy freezes, which is where the brainwashing occurs, because that's how they get everything out to the masses. So, like, the cheese singles get put on these hamburgers, they get ordered, it's a Dairy Queen style place, McDonald's style place.
Right.
So, these masses of people get picked up at these locations, and there's, like, one truck that's always there that's a military convoy that loads the people into it, and, there's trucks making cheese deliveries all the friggin' time to these locations.
Yeah.
So I knew eventually they would find themselves in the back at one of the dairy freezes, right?
Right.
What I didn't know is how the hell they were going to get out of that situation. So I just kind of randomly decided one night that one of the two twins, the Siamese twins, were going to have... So I haven't decided yet if they both have distinct powers, or if it's one of them has powers, or they have a power that they both share. But in any case, one of them, at the very least, can time jump.
Yeah.
And so at the midway point, I think, in issue number 4, I think it was like page number 13, 14, something like that, you see the soldier pointing a gun in the back of the truck. And he's standing there by the truck driver, and he's telling whoever's back there to come out with their hands up, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
They see it's a cow, but then they find out, Bethany's in there, Lumpy's in there, and the Siamese twins are in there. Siamese twins don't have a name. I've never bothered to name them. And the Hunchback we just merely refer to as Lumpy in the script. But in any case, I had no idea what the hell I was going to do with them past that point, right?
Yeah.
And then I was watching Heroes. And you know how Heroes always has like the 5 years later
right
episode in any one of the seasons? I thought, I could do that. I've already worked in all kinds of movie parodies into this series. Like, there's parodies of Clockwork Orange in the first issue.
Right.
There's a bunch of different movie parodies that occur throughout the series. And so I just thought I could do that. I could go ahead and parody Heroes. Or, it's a parody of X-Men in a lot of ways, too. Because, those mutants over there are always jumping through time and doing this or that. But I specifically wanted this to be 5 years in the future.
Right.
So it's a possible future, of course, because, unless they don't go back to the present, which, could happen. It's tough to say.
That could be interesting.
But in any case, this is kind of a mixture of the 5 years later from Heroes and may just potentially be the start of a cross-time style caper.
Nice.
So in Excalibur, in the early issues, they did what was called the cross-time caper.
Yeah.
Where Excalibur visited all these different dimensions and alternate futures and histories and so on and so forth. And some of them were like ludicrously silly. Some of them were way more serious than the world they came from. Some of them it was like Britain still ruled over America. Things like that.
Right.
So I might be doing something like that, but I can't say for sure. You'll have to wait till issue number 6 to find that out. But in any case, all of issue number 5 is just going to pick up that thread.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to follow up on anything with the battle between Le Mime and Mime Professional in issue number 5. So if you're waiting for that, you got to wait a while.
That's amazing.
That being said,
to see what happens.
You probably will see some pretty familiar faces popping up in issue number 5. How familiar? I'm not going to tell you.
Could be as simple as one guy that was in the first panel of one other panel.
It could be. It could be. Who knows?
You never know.
You'll have to wait for issue number 5 to find out.
Well, I'm excited.
In any case, you know that you'll see Muerte, Lumpy, Bethany, and the Siamese twins.
Right.
They'll be there.
So, how's the con hiatus going?
Going very well.
Yeah? That's good.
Yeah, feeling a lot more sane.
Nice. That is definitely
taking all the breaks from the cons. It was actually kind of funny today, though. I went to see Incredibles with the kids, and one of the con organizers that I know was at the theater. So apparently I can't get away from these people even when I go on full-on hiatus. But I still have until July 21st before I do another show. That's going to be the Rustorama show in Salem. I'm looking forward to that show, but at the same time, I am very, very much enjoying my time off.
Yeah, that's understandable, though. I mean, you've done a lot of shows this year.
I have. I did a lot last year, too. But,
right.
Back when I was a little bit older than you, actually. Did a whole lot more, because I did 42 in 2010.
Holy crap.
That's shows and signings, not just shows. It's also signings at comic shops, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, 42 in total.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, there are some weeks where I do like a signing on Wednesday, then do like a toy show on Saturday and a Comic-Con on Sunday. So, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, so there were some weeks off there, in between, but for the most part I was just on the road all the time that year. The older I get, the harder it is to do that kind of stuff.
I can understand.
I think I made a wise call by backing off before I got totally burnt out.
Yeah, well, and it gave you time to work on the things that you needed to work on.
Exactly, like getting those scripts finished.
Exactly.
Getting some of the eBay inventory sold. Finding new eBay inventory, shit like that,
Right.
Yeah. So the reality is, cons aren't going to bring in enough that I can live off it.
Yeah.
But,
it plays a small part.
It plays a small part, yeah. And it used to be a thing where, like, Frankenstein, every time I went there, I was finding inventory for eBay. But lately, it hasn't been the case.
Really?
I haven't really found stuff to flip. So either I'm not looking hard enough, or, it's just not there as much.
Right.
Could be either. Who knows?
Well, I mean, seems like when we talked about you guys going to Frankenstein, it was like, what, last week, right? Mm-hmm. You said that you really didn't see anything there.
Yeah, I really didn't.
Like, even for yourself.
Yeah, I bought a few things. A couple, but not very many. Sasquatch was the same way. So, like, the first time I did Sasquatch, I walked around and spent about $20 and probably bought about $300 worth of resale.
Damn.
And about 10 of it was just stuff that was just for me, just to read.
Yeah.
And the last 2 times I think I've been there, I haven't really found anything for resale. I found this and that, for me to read. But
right.
It could also have something to do with the fact that I've been doing resale for 21 years now. And I'm burnt out on that, too.
Yeah, I can totally see that happening.
Yeah, which is why I'm eager to start the next phase But there's a lot of things that need to happen in order for that next phase to get here.
Right. So as far as, you said it's Rustorama?
Yeah, Rustorama.
Okay. So as far as that goes, we've discussed the pinup prints before.
Mm-hmm.
How are those going, and do you have any
The
plans that you
actual
changed with
artwork
that?
is all fully completed.
Uh-huh.
I just have to have the money together to actually get them printed onto something.
Nice.
So, we'll see if I have the money by then or not. If
Yeah.
I do, I'm sure it's something that my printers can get done for me lightning quick.
Uh-huh.
And if nothing else, I will just do them as prints. I
Right.
didn't want to do them as paper prints, so I still hope that I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But, printing on metal, printing on wood, it's not cheap.
Right.
So it's all going to be
Understandable.
dependent on, what kind of money I can come up with in between now and then.
Well, and I mean, worst case scenario, you can always do a test run with the paper ones.
Yeah.
See if they sell well enough to even try to do
There
metal
is that
prints.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, like at a car and bike show, metal prints would probably sell better than paper.
Right.
So I'm not sure how much of a test run it really is.
Right, especially if you're doing the bike show first. So-
Well, bike and car. It's
right.
bike and car
okay,
show.
yeah. So if you do it at the bike car show
Yeah.
and they're paper, making metal prints to sell at a Comic-Con probably is like reversed.
Right.
Totally not the same
Well,
thing,
no,
but-
metal prints actually seem to sell pretty well at Comic Cons.
Uh-huh.
But with what I'm thinking with the car and bike show, is there's going to be a lot of people there who have shops.
Right.
And if they really like it as something, you hang a metal print up in a shop, you're not as worried about hanging a poster up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Definitely.
So, like my dad, he actually has a large amount of posters hanging in his shop.
Uh-huh.
But he's got a lot of metal signs hanging too, and the metal signs
Right.
definitely don't wear down from all the welding dust and things like that the same way the paper does. you
Yeah.
know?
Understandable.
Or the light bleeding, any of that kind of factors.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's also just a different crowd of what you can expect. Like when you do a tattoo show, people are walking around with hundreds in their pocket.
Yeah.
When you do a Comic-Con, they might be walking around with $10 in their pocket, like,
As we've experienced.
yes, yeah, you never know,
Exactly.
But on average, you can kind of look at some of the shows and know who's going to have more money to spend where. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Sounds about right.
I would actually like to do another tattoo show again at some point.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't know you did one before.
Yeah, I did one back in, I think, 2010.
Nice.
So it wasn't one where I was manning the table the whole entire time. It was actually a thing where my tattoo artist at the time had a booth, and they said, hey, we'll sell this stuff for you, da-da-da. And I had stopped by there at some point and, did a couple autographs and stuff like that.
Nice.
So
That's
my
so cool,
stuff
though.
was sold at a tattoo con. I wasn't necessarily present for
Right.
the whole
It was
thing.
almost like a little small guest appearance type thing.
Kinda, yeah, kinda that sort of thing. But you can buy booths at tattoo conventions same as you can anything else. There's
Yeah.
people who are there selling like license plates that have been made into purses, shit like that.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that's keeping you from setting up there.
Right.
As a
In a
comic
way,
creator.
it's still an art show, so.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm all for doing those kind of things that aren't just Comic Cons.
Yeah. Do
And
something different
it's-
and unique.
Kind of one of those things where when you go to a Comic Con, you'll get that large percentage of people who only want Marvel and DC stuff. Even if it's
Right.
like the unauthorized Marvel and DC stuff. They still only want Marvel and DC, or they want Ninja Turtles, or, like they came there because of a specific love for a character. And there's a certain percentage who are there who will buy independent stuff, but like when I do the horror cons, when I do this, when I do that, I have a larger amount of people come up to me who are like, oh, I've never read comics, or I used to read them when I was a kid. And
Right.
they don't care that it's not Spider-Man or not Wolverine, not the X-Men, not Batman, whatever,
It's
know.
comics.
It's comics, and it looks like something that's cool, so they want to check it out. You
Right.
know? 3 years ago, I think, at CryptoCon, I had a guy come up to me. We talked about Castlevania for like a half hour. And he ended up buying Chronicles of Von Helsing and said that he had never bought a comic before in his life.
Really?
Yeah, but if I loved Castlevania the way he did, and I created this vampire comic, he wanted to check it out. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, it's nothing like Castlevania, right? He's like, well, yeah, I know that. He's like, but I'm not afraid of it being like Twilight. I'm like, oh, okay, well, fair enough.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So you do get a larger population of people who are just willing to take the risk,
Right.
And like one of the best places I've actually experienced for sales, they shocked the shit out of me with new clientele, are antique shows.
Really?
Yeah, so you wouldn't think antique shows that you do anything at them, right?
Right.
But you'd be amazed if you're younger, like, the perfect age to do them is actually right around your age. Going to the antique shows, having the elderly client come up to you because they are so enthralled with the idea that you are trying to do this thing.
Right.
And you're taking this risk in your life, that they're actually more supportive of it than you'll find people your own age being.
Really?
That's what I found anyway.
Okay, that makes sense to me. It's almost like a, hey, you're actually taking the step to do something like this.
Right. Yeah.
They want to support it.
Exactly. So I'd say your age is like the perfect age.
That's awesome. I never thought about that.
Well, back when I used to do them, I actually had antiques to flip too.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a large part of the reason why I've done toy shows, antique shows, this kind of show, that kind of shows, because I don't just sell just my product.
Right.
It's all kinds of shit I have laying around to sell, you know?
Yeah.
So.
As we've experienced recently.
Yes, yeah, as you can see by just looking around my room, which, you know, the audience can't, but you can. So.
Picture this.
A bunch of shit for eBay everywhere.
It's like a small warehouse, but not.
And not nearly as organized at the moment.
I know, every time we start organizing it
we buy more shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We slowly mess it up.
Or somebody drops off shit for me to sell. And then it's all messed up all over again.
Right.
Well, now's the time to be getting inventory. You know, like, if you wait till Christmas to have all your inventory for Christmas, you've messed up.
Yeah.
You need to have it all in, like, June, you know?
So true.
Yeah. So what's been keeping all your time this week?
Well, I'm sure as you know, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go now that the friend situation has become available. I don't know what the social features is.
Social
what they call
feature.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as much as I should have been drawing, I was actually swapping gifts and Pokemon and trying to level up so that we could use the friend features, and then to find out the next day that I spent like several hours catching everything that I could possibly do to get my level up to 30.
Right.
And then have it drop down. So
I finally caught the Alolan Rattata today, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, so unfortunately that has been digging into my time a little bit. Last night I was sitting on the couch, all excited after my son went to bed because I was going to sit down on the couch and actually draw for a little bit before I went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I knew, it was 2 in the morning and I was catching a ghastly in the middle of my living room. So... But yeah, I mean it's fun.
Right.
On that topic though, have you ever considered doing apps for Darkslinger?
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I see some independent comic companies doing apps for their comics, like comic readers.
Right.
I think it's silly to invest all the money to do that because Comixology already exists, and so does this, and so does that, and there's all kinds of apps that have already been made. Why sink all that money into proprietary technology that's already been invented, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, I do want to have some cell phone games made for Darkslinger characters. Whether these will be something that I have to do myself or someone wants to license, you know.
Gotta drop that hint.
If they license my characters to do it, I guess what type of game that I want exactly gets a little bit less in my control.
Right.
But if I have my way, the games that I will release for them, I have idea for 3 of them anyway. For Bovine Muerte, I want to make a constant runner game. So you know what constant runners are, right? So one day I was playing Spider-Man Unlimited. And I love a lot about it, including the ability to get new characters that you can use all the time. But one of the things I don't love about it is the fact that the new characters actually have 0 different abilities.
Yeah.
Like Black Cat is the exact same to play as Spider-Man. They just have different bonuses.
Right.
They're just skins, that's all they are, right?
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot to various constant runners, you know, Minion Run, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I love them. They're addictive for a little while. You get over the addictiveness, but, you know, they're fun for that brief period of time, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to do an Bovine Muerte constant runner.
That would be awesome.
That had actual different abilities for what they did, you know, instead of just skins. You know, maybe a few things would be just skins, but I would like to actually have different abilities that they had.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't imagine it would take a whole lot more coding to actually have them be able to do stuff, you know.
I wouldn't
but
picture that.
Just think, you know, the premium currency could be cheese.
Yeah.
And you start off with, just regular lay mime. And then for the other characters that you can gain by playing or, with cheese or whatever, could be mime professional, lay mime version 2.0 with a metallic arm, Muerte with Bethany riding on her back, Bethany, the two-headed mutant, Lumpy. I mean, there's a shit ton of characters in Bovine Muerte who all look interesting.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter if they're really a big part of the story or not.
It's still
you
fun.
could still have them be a character you could collect, and there'd be enough characters to release that it'd keep going for a little while, So I'd absolutely love to have that for Bovine Muerte.
I could totally picture that, and it would be awesome.
For Ghost Assassin, I'm not really sure how well it would work on a cell phone.
Yeah.
There might be a way to make it work, but it might be easier if it were an actual console-based game. So did you ever play the Darkness first-person shooter? That came out for Xbox 360?
No. Definitely not, because I haven't really played any Xbox 360 games.
Okay.
Yeah, never had the system, so I never got to play any.
There was a game called The Darkness that was based off the Top Cow series.
Yeah.
And one of the really cool things about it is that you could actually activate his darkness powers, and they could go ahead for you and kind of scout, right?
Really?
Yeah, well, I think it would be really cool to do a first-person Ghost Assassin shooter. It's kind of, in my head, I kind of think of it as almost like a mix-up between the Hitman game and the Darkness.
Yeah.
Because it'd be cool if you had like a meter that for a limited amount of time you could send Todd out to scout for you without fear of danger.
Be awesome.
And then, you go around and you find your target and you assassinate him, you do all that kind of stuff,
Right.
Like any other first-person shooter, really.
Yeah.
The main distinguishing feature there, really and truly, would be having Todd have the ability to go out and scout for you.
Yeah.
And I've played first-person shooters on my phone. Some of them are really, really good, and some of them are just fucking awful. Like, Contract Killer is actually really cool. But one of the problems with it is that your character is always stationary.
Right.
And it seems like most of the first-person shooters that I've played on cell phones that work, the character is always stationary, and any of the movement that's done is done by the computer, not by you.
Right.
I mean, you can move the gun around, but you don't move the actual, legs and that kind of stuff. I don't know, for that very reason, how well it would work on a cell phone. But
that's understandable.
I'd imagine that if there was a console game, there could be a stripped-down version of it that could be released for the cell phone.
Right, kind of how they did the same thing back in the day with like GameCube and PlayStation games, and they'd put a stripped-down version for Game Boy.
Yeah.
Or PSP.
Exactly. So, for Chronicles von Helsing... I actually want something way more in depth, where you're actually going around slaying vampires. There's been a lot of different ideas I had for that. I actually had a Pokemon Go style idea for it, where you could be slaying vampires in the real world. But I don't know how well that would work, because sometimes just having people stop to catch Pokemon is a big pain in the ass. You actually have to stop and fight a vampire.
I can say there are a couple games like that.
I know there are.
They had like the Ghostbusters one.
Right.
That one was a pain in the ass, specifically for that reasoning.
So my other idea was just to have something that's graphically intense, that is a simple leveler.
Yeah.
That, like maybe make it old Castlevania style.
That could be cool.
Like the side-scrolling type thing, but have it with Chronicles characters. Now, of course, there you run into the risk of there's already a vampire fighting side-scroller. So you kind of have to be careful about running into copyright infringement with Castlevania. But then again, like the whip, all that kind of stuff is way different than the weapons Robert uses.
Yeah.
But a simplistic side-scroller, if it were like on the level of maybe like the Game Boy Advance, that shouldn't be so graphically intense that it couldn't be on a cell phone. You know what I mean? So I've thought about doing stuff like that. And then there's also just the idea of doing an overall Darkslinger universe one. That would be a fighting game similar to Mortal Kombat X.
Dude, that would be amazing.
So as you know, I am a big player of Mortal Kombat X on the iPhone.
Every time I'm over here.
Right? Because I got to get my daily bonuses.
Yep. Pick a card.
And so, there's a lot of Darkslinger characters, and it might be really cool to have Lay Mime go up against Robert Von Helsing.
Right.
Or David come out and start shooting, at like Lay Mime or, you know. And, the Darkslinger universe continues to grow all the time.
DLC characters.
Right? Well, you have like the challenge mode in Mortal Kombat where you
Right.
can get the new character every week, that kind of stuff. You have the premium currency for this character, that character.
Yeah.
A lot of different ways to play something
Dude,
like that.
that could be amazing.
So I've thought about doing a fighting game, but in order to do the fighting game, I don't want it to just be one specific book of mine.
Yeah.
I guess if I did that, the Principalities or Chronicles of Von Helsing would make the most sense.
Uh-huh.
But I would rather be able to see like a fighting game where you could choose Lame Mime, or you could choose David, or you could choose Robert Von Helsing, or you could choose Gabriel from the Principalities.
That could
something
be really
along those lines. But it needs to be something that has good graphics and good gameplay, and
Right.
like I don't want it to be cheesy or shitty,
Yeah.
or I've downloaded some fighting games that have just been impossible to master. So, the tap, 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 tap of Mortal Kombat works really well.
Right.
You don't have to do a bunch of crazy shit to do the moves. You know?
Well, and that could always be cool because if they do well enough, you could do a mini slingers game aimed more at younger kids.
That's true. Could do something like that too.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. And that's actually something for like the Bovine Muerte constant runner.
Right.
Is that I could have Little Lame Mime be one of the characters, things like that. His parents from the Mini Slingers universe, you do all kinds of shit like that.
Throw the Popper in there just because.
Just because. Why not?
Well, he's in that one panel, so.
The Popper has appeared in more books as a supporting character at this point than he has in his own title, so.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's slowly becoming Deadpool or Harley Quinn.
Yeah, except for they have their own titles too. Like the Popper, his own title, I struggle with. Like I'm still working on the 5th and 6th issue of that. On the other hand, throwing a guest appearance of him into Bovine Muerte, that's easy.
Right.
Like creating this little bully version of him for Little Lame Mime and the Mini Slingers, that's easy. He's got a 2-panel guest stint coming up in Ghost Assassin. And
really?
Yeah. It's in flashback sequences, but yeah, that's a little spoiler. I won't tell you where or when, but he does have 2-panel sequence coming up.
That's pretty cool.
2 different panels, 2 different pages. He's going to be making a guest appearance in that, and so far, in his own title, the Popper Rough Cut is all that exists.
That's awesome.
But, hopefully by the end of this year or the beginning of next, there'll be some Popper announcements coming.
Yeah.
That's just something I haven't had much time to work with.
Understandable. You got a lot of stuff going on.
I do. In the books, when I really got everything going again, like my main things were like, okay, Ghost Assassin's a flagship title.
Yeah.
And it's one of 3 ongoings. So I got to get that one back up and going, right?
Right.
Chronicles Von Helsing has a full arc done, so it's fine to sit there for a little bit while I prepare for the second arc and the hardcover and all that kind of shit, right?
Right.
Bovine Muerte is a webcomic, so that's got to get back up and going.
Right.
Diary of a Dead Man is quite potentially the best thing I'll ever release.
So
I've got to get that going, right?
Right.
The Principalities, the covers for that just kind of happened to fall into my lap because Melissa submitted to me, and I was like, I can't not work with her. Right. Same sort of thing happened when you told me what Inspiratu was about, and I saw an opportunity there to bring him into the Darkslinger universe,
Yeah.
But some of the other books, like the Popper and the Piper, and some of those, they'll have to just be sitting there for a little bit longer.
Well, and I can see where that comes from. I mean, considering you're the only writer.
Right.
So it's not like you have a whole team of people that could be like, oh, well, you're in charge of this title for like the next month.
Right. And it would be great to bring on some more writers, but there is also a simplistic fact that I don't have time to mentor anybody.
Right.
And I don't have time to really vet how good they are.
Well,
so
on top of that,
it's a lot easier to work with.
That
exactly.
You want them done.
Yes, but I wouldn't mind having other writers come in.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to having somebody write even some of my main stories. Like Chronicles Von Helsing, I would let another writer write a story in it. And Tony is actually doing a Chronicles Von Helsing story that he's writing and drawing. And I have no opposition to that whatsoever, as long as it fits in to the overall narrative that I'm telling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't ever want to not be the main writer on those books.
Right.
That being said, a spinoff here that I don't care about, something like that I don't care about, or something somebody pitches me on. Like, if you would pitch me Inspiratu and you were fully confident in your own writing, I would take a look at that, right?
Right.
But part of it is, I no longer have an editor working for me.
Yeah.
I do all the editing now. And so I don't have time to really vet how good someone is because I don't have
Right.
time to sit there and read a 12-page script.
Easier
Or
to
a
read your own
20-page script.
12-page script
It
and
is.
edit it.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even like doing that. So.
Yeah.
Because no one likes to go back through their old work and read it.
Jesus, yeah, I know how that is. I've written stuff before and literally gone back and just like completely deleted it or tore the papers out of the notebook and
Right.
shredded the hell out of them.
Yeah, I enjoy at times going back and looking through my old ideas.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really funny with Chronicles von Helsing. I came up with the original story for it back in, like, God, 1999, 2000, something like that, before I was even a writer.
Holy crap.
And I would just kind of jot down random ideas here and there while I was working in case I ever decided I actually wanted to try to be a writer.
Yeah.
Because still during that time, like, oh, I kind of like the idea of being a writer, but do I want to be, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'd kind of jot down ideas here and there, right? Well, the funny thing is originally I just called Chronicles von Helsing Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah.
The first Nosferatu story, which is the first Chronicles von Helsing story, I had put the label on the story as just dark, and here's what it was about, okay? Now, bear in mind, this is from 1999 or 2000.
Right, let's hear this.
It was about some vampires descending on a town where the first von Helsing, who I knew back then was named Robert, was going to be living to try and kill him, but in an effort to, they were going to start draining all the townspeople of life.
Right.
Vampires were at their strongest because it took place in Finland, where it's night for 30 days. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Makes sense why I couldn't go through with doing that story?
Understandable.
So when I eventually saw 30 Days a Night, I'm like, the fuck? Like, somebody
Someone
else
beat me
thought
to
of
it.
that, but they put it in Alaska instead of Finland, which
Yeah.
makes sense, you know. And, I mean, you know, you want Americans to care, keep it in one of the American states, you
Right.
know. I mean, like, that makes sense. I thought Finland might be a little bit cooler to play with, but, you know, I gotta say, it worked well in Alaska. Well, I think. Some of my Alaskan friends don't think it did quite as well. But
no Eskimo vampires.
when I read it, I was like, you know, I like this. I like 30 Days of Night a lot. I do wish I would have been able to tell that story, though, because I feel like there are a lot of missed opportunities with it. But now I don't feel like I can ever do it.
Yeah. I mean, you could always do some kind of weird spin-off thing, but like you said, it's kind of already been done, so...
It has,
There's
yeah.
no reason to really
So
do it
unless I wanted to make it like an official thing by getting a hold of IDW and being like, hey, do you want to do a Chronicles von Helsing 30 Days a Night team up, you know?
That could be cool.
But that's really the only way that I feel like I could do it.
Right.
Because it's already been done.
Yeah.
You know? And so, and it was done well enough. I mean, the movie's good. The comic's good. You know, Ben Temple-Smith's art did take me a little bit to adjust to. But once you adjust to it, you know, it's cool.
Right.
The sequels to it, you know, they're pretty good. I enjoy 30 Days a Night immensely for what it is.
Yeah.
So, I have no problems with the fact that I got beaten to the punch on releasing something like that.
Yeah.
But I do find it funny that I came up with something so similar to what Steve Niles did. And who knows, he might have written that story out, you know, 10 years before it saw publication.
Right.
You never know, you know?
He wrote it out when he was debating on if he wanted to be a writer or not.
Right? Yeah. I can't remember what writer it was. It might have been Stan Lee, it might have been Stephen King. I don't remember. But one of them had said something to the effect that there was not a single character or story that they had ever created that someone didn't claim that they came up with. And it's like, you know, that does happen. But ideas don't mean shit if you don't have the carry out for it.
Exactly.
Carry out takes a lot of things. It takes know-how, it takes will.
Yeah.
It takes, you know, like a lot of different things. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm happy that the first Chronicles von Helsing story was the genie one.
Yeah.
And not something weird with Robert being retired. Because now, all these years later that I've worked on these characters and know them inside and out, Robert never would have been complacent being some retired guy.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that's not the route that I took him.
Right. Makes sense. He would have had to, like, detour and go all the way back, rewrite it.
There is one way and one way only he quits killing vampires. Well, I guess two ways. He's dead, or they're all dead.
Right.
You know?
Simple answer.
Right? That's it. So, I'm glad I didn't do that with this character, because it would have been so, you know, anti to everything that I built for him since.
Really the only way to get away from that would be to go back at some point and be like, oh wait, no, that's an alternate universe.
Yeah, but Chronicles
come
von
up with
Helsing
that?
isn't the one that I do alternate universes
Yeah,
for.
exactly.
So unless I'm going to have Bethany and the mutants
Or you
visit.
decide to reboot it like fucking Marvel.
Oh god. Reboot? You mean just put number 1 on the cover?
Pretty much.
Because there's nothing actually fucking rebooted about any of those
Exactly.
books for the most part. Like, maybe 1 or 2 of them might be.
Yeah.
But the majority of them, aren't they just like the same story going on, just with a new numbering on the cover?
It seems like it, yeah. Like, let's just continue the same
When you
story,
read
but
them in
let's put a
trade
different number
paperback
on 'em.
format, it doesn't make any sense for what issue is the first issue.
Yeah.
And they do all that stupid shit too, like the .1 issue.
Right.
And all that kind of stuff. There's been some of that I thought was cool. Like when I was a kid, they did this big event where like all the books were released that month instead of having their normal numbering. It was -1. And it took place 20 years prior to,
Yeah.
with some character from the book, right?
Yeah.
So like in Generation X, most of the characters weren't alive 20 years ago. So I think it followed like Banshee 20 years ago, right? And that was cool because it was like, oh, it's this glimpse into what the characters were like 20 years ago, and and it has something to do with the storyline going on now.
Right.
And it was like some form of a challenge to the creators behind it,
Yeah.
like create something that really tells a story here that's going to fit into your current narrative,
Exactly.
Like that's cool. But just doing like the .1 issue that's the exact same storyline, and you just confused a fan who bought number 12 last week, wants to buy number 13 next month, but now they have to buy 12.1 in a week in order to understand what happened between 12 and 13.
Right.
That's fucking stupid.
Right. That's
And it's not
totally
even 12.5, it's 12.1.
It's not even 12 and a half.
But anyway, our job usually isn't knocking on Marvel.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week's Darkslinger Mafia podcast. Tune in next week. I'm Adam Watson.
And Levon Baker.
Thank you for listening.